And welcome to this episode of Organic Living with the Hippy Gourmet. This week we get to meet one of my culinary heroes of all time, Graham Kerr, also known as the Galloping Gourmet.
Hello, I'm Graham Kerr. You might remember me from the days that I used to gallop for a living. And now I'm very pleased to tell you that I'm sauntering through life. And a wonderful opportunity today. I'm your guest host of Organic Living TV, which means that I finally made it in my career because I really love great organic food and marvelous soil. And talking about marvelous soil, it's the Skagit Valley, famous for tulips, but really should be famous for great organic farming. And I'm going to take you to a little farm called Mother's Flight. You're going to meet a guy called Glenn. Glenn has been here, well, much before I arrived in this part of the world, and he's an icon. Icons get down on their knees and weed with both hands. Glenn, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Graham, for coming and being a part of this whole process.
Could you show me something of the farm? I'd
Sure.
love it.
Mother Flight Farm. We have a farm here. It's organic, and it's been organic for the last 20 years, certified by the Washington State Department of Agriculture. This is the Fur Island. The Skagit Valley's Primus Delta farmland is found here near the mouth of the Skagit River, where it dumps into Skagit Bay out behind us. And there's 17,000 acres of the Primus silt soil alluvial delta that you'll find anywhere. It's a phenomenon.
Okay, Glenn, if we can find some larger beets and some fava beans, some celeriac, carrots.
Yeah.
I know you grow all those things.
Yeah.
So, I love walking on weeds.
Beets are one of the best foods that we can do.
You know, this is one of my favorite places in the whole world because it's one thing to go into a great food store and look at the great looking vegetables. But when you actually come and see something that's alive and growing, and you can pick up a handful of soil and it binds nicely together and it's what is called friable, and you press it with your finger and it breaks apart beautifully. And you know then that there's a farmer there who really watches his soil. And this is just such a farmer. Glenn, thank you for doing this. Look at that. But they're a very important part of our lives. You are. Just remember that.
Yeah, well, and likewise the work of you, we're all just working at trying to make improvements for our society and getting people into really good food.
Feeling better all the time. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? What I really love about the organic concept is that you can do just what you like. You know, you get the taste of things and you put them together in your mind. This is the beet. Isn't that a charming thing? Beautiful color, lovely fresh leaves, you can smell it's just come from the field. Now, what you do with these is to place a knife blade through about 1.5 inches or 2 inches if you prefer. Save these well-washed leaves. And now you've got this beet. Now how to cook that? And this is the best way that I've seen so far. And that is take a little foil. I'm Scottish, by the way, so I don't use too much foil. And lay that into the top there. And wrap that little fellow around. The tail may poke out, don't worry about that. And firmly massage that together. That is ready for the oven. Pop them in any kind of plate that you like and just stick it in the oven. And as I said, I have a convection oven here and I would do that at 350 degrees. The cook time will be 30 minutes. Here we go. They could weep a little here and there. Now that the question is, how do you set about peeling them, because they need to be peeled. So, even though the foil will be hot, the cold running water will be just fine. It just moves the skin off perfectly. Have a number of ways of doing this, but I think straight across the middle. Actually, since I'm doing this for the very first time, I'm talking to myself as I'm doing this. Don't let it be rustic. The really good thing about beet leaves, which are a little bit like Swiss chard, by the way, in the quality of them, is that they cook really quickly. And what I do is I just simply take a broad chiffonade. By the way, every pump of this olive oil is a half teaspoonful. This way I know how much oil I'm adding. It's not kind of the Tuscan roll kind of thing. Nice that is, just a little olive oil and those wonderful little pine nuts. They can just be toasted just enough that you can just smell the noisette coming off the pan. When those are just about that level, you can add the fava beans. And they can pop down into the top just to be able to crack them open. Then I'm going to add our roughly cut beet. And you start to get the caramelization taking place on the tops of the, see the little caramel sections that are coming? On goes the greens to be able to wilt. Okay, we'll just cover that just for a minute. Crumbled goat cheese, and I'm sure you've seen quite a bit of this. This is already crumbled and is usually in a little plastic pot. So let's take the lid off. You see the wilting now that's taken place there. A little bit more. I like to put just a little sea salt over the top of that. I don't know whether you have such things as organic peppercorns. I haven't really watched, and I think it may be going a little far. So a little freshly ground peppercorn, and this little thing here is called S-Mix. And this one is Pacific Northwest. And what it has in it, it has a little cayenne, it's quite hot, cayenne pepper and star anise and dill. But if you really want to order one jar of that, you'd make my day. It's just grahamkerr.com. You'll see it written out on the bottom of the screen here. Isn't it marvelous what we can do? This thing called miso vinaigrette. And what I'm going to do is just to put a little drizzle of that over the top. Oh, that smells wonderful. Okay, crumbled goat cheese, sprinkle that over the top. Being able to sort it out. Boy, that looks good. And I'm done. Now remember, this has not been done before in bud food before your very eyes. I'm going to try and get a little fava bean and you can tell it's organic.
For these recipes and more, check out the Hippy Gourmet's quick and simple cookbook for healthy eating, available wherever books are sold.